You walk into the room and the air is already bargaining. Smiles move like coins, hands shake like contracts. Before anyone speaks, the market opens, and you are either priced or you are pricing. You scan the faces. Laughter clusters near the highest chairs, where budgets sleep behind polished wood. The intern carries coffee like a tribute. A manager compliments your jacket, and beneath the threads measures your margin. These people are not cruel, they are merely counting. A nod buys a minute. A joke purchases patience. A favor rents tomorrow. Every hello is an invoice with soft edges and small print. You stand in the warm light and watch the quieter currency, who sits where, who interrupts whom, who takes notes and who never does. The market is moving even while the water glasses are still. Beneath the warmth sits a price list. The colleague who loves your energy wants your weekend. The client who feels like family wants a discount no one else gets. The mentor who calls you promising wants your loyalty long after the learning ends. It is not romance, it is arithmetic. When you forget that, the bill arrives in strange ways. Hours you never agreed to, credits you never receive, promises that evaporate when you finally need them. You must see the ink beneath the varnish. You must read the ledger under the smile. Charm without caution charges interest. You smile, you give access, you overshare, and the room quietly appraises you as safe to borrow from. A promotion drifts past your chair because your calendar says always available. A friend becomes the friend who only calls when the car breaks, the rent rises, or the story needs a hero. When your name means yes, your value becomes yesterday's sale price. They do not hate you, they simply learned from you. The world remembers discounts, it forgets the full price. The cost of naivety is paid in 3 currencies: time, dignity, and reputation. Time goes first. You donate it in small, polite installments until weeks disappear. Dignity follows. You start explaining simple boundaries like you are asking permission to breathe. Reputation is last. Whispers circle the table. Dependable, pliable, easy. Opportunity stops knocking because opportunity respects doors that close. Meanwhile, tests multiply. Could you just becomes the anthem. You nod, and your crown slides 1 notch lower with every favor you did not price. So you learn the first rule: never arrive empty. Enter with unspoken leverage. Your posture must carry a quiet question: what is your offer to my standards? You do not rush to fill silence. You let it weigh the table. Silence is a scale. It measures who believes they can demand. You set your pen beside the glass and let your eyeline do the arithmetic. You know your numbers, what an hour costs, what a weekend costs, what your name on a project costs, and you have prepared the exchange. A clear outcome you can deliver, a boundary you will not move, and an exit that does not shake your voice. Pre-speech leverage has 4 pillars. First, position. Choose your seat, your lighting, your distance from the door. Power likes vantage. Second, preparation. A minimum viable offer and a maximum credible ask, printed on your tongue without tremor. Third, proof. 1 crisp example that demonstrates you finish what you start. Recent, measurable, undeniable. Fourth, penalty. A polite sentence that outlines what happens if terms are ignored, pauses, fees, or removal of access. You are not loud, you are legible. You do not threaten, you price. You do not plead, you propose. You do not chase, you set the meeting where chasing is unnecessary. Let others decorate the conversation. You will engineer the terrain. When they finally speak, it will be inside the borders you drew with posture, silence, offers, and consequences. The room will still be a market, but you will no longer be inventory. You are not here to be loved by the room. You are here to be understood by it. And when a room understands you, It stops testing you. Enter with terms, leave with peace. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. You want to believe sincerity is enough. You want to think clear eyes and good work will carry you across every room, but rooms run on incentives, and incentives care little for sincerity. People will praise your heart while pricing your time. They will applaud your honesty while negotiating your silence. When you lead with the hope of being liked, you walk in with a discount stamped on your forehead. Soft entry, soft terms, hard consequences. The first trap is the smiling contract you never signed. Flattery opens it. It sounds like music because it is written in your key. You're the only one who can pull this off. You're different. You're one of us. The warmth lowers your guard. Then the language of we arrives. We're family. We're in this together. And a quick talk of enemies that demands urgency and shortcuts. Note the sequence: praise, belonging, threat. You are lifted, then included, then steered. Soft words blur the boundary lines so future demands can cross them without resistance. Understand the mechanics. Flattery is advance payment in counterfeit. It buys attention with no intent to repay. Shared enemy talk puts a torch in your hand so you will carry their fire. Where family draws a velvet rope across the price table so you can't see the numbers. When you accept those terms, you become collateral, available nights and weekends, available when their poor planning becomes your emergency. They call it team spirit. In truth, it is unsecured borrowing secured by your compliance. The invoice arrives later. A deadline slips to Friday night because we're all in this. A client wants the friend price. A senior whispers, "Do this quietly for me, I'll remember." He will remember when he wants it, and again. What began as flattery became a precedent. Precedence becomes duty. Duty hardens into identity. By the time you protest, they are shocked. You are the one changing the deal. Now the charity mask appears, polite and heavy. "Let me help you. I've been thinking about your growth. Take this opportunity, I'll look out for you." The help may be real at first. A door opens, you walk through, but there is no paper, there are no terms. And where there are no terms, there are later obligations. The favor turns into a floating clause invoked at the worst moment. "After everything I did for you, we were there when no one else was. You owe me a little flexibility." The list never ends because the boundaries never began. Undefined favors breed dependency. You start forecasting around someone else's memory of generosity. You hesitate to enforce a boundary because it might look ungrateful. You give second chances because the first chance came with ribbons. You become a debtor in a moral bank where the interest rate is shameful. Notice the asymmetry. The initial favor was specific. The repayment is endless. In politics, this is a tribute. In private life, it is the same mechanism with softer language. Refuse the vagueness. If someone wants to help, set scope, timeline, and reciprocity at the start. Price gratitude like any other asset, honored, documented, finite. Do not insult the helper. Protect both of you with clarity. I accept, and here is how I will return value by this date, in this form, under these limits. The genuine will welcome boundaries. They make the relationship durable. Those who want a leash will call the term cold. Let them be cold. Warmth without form is how good people are harnessed. And now the sweetest lie, that being loved will protect you. Being loved means you will be forgiven more quickly for a while. It means people feel close to you until they need proof that your closeness is still on sale. Love invites tests. They push, not because they hate you, but because love promises softness. The loved ones are expected to understand, to bend, to make exceptions. Just this once repeats until it writes your policy manual. You drift from decisions to explanations, from standards to apologies. Respect shuts the test down before it starts. Respect is not noise. It is the quiet knowledge that your yes is expensive and your no is final. Respect grows from predictability. You deliver what you price, and you enforce what you promise. You do not perform anger. You keep the calendar. You do not broadcast threats. You execute consequences. When people learn your boundaries are part of your identity, not a mood, they stop experimenting on you. Their tests move elsewhere, toward softer ground. Consider the office. You work late without a word, fix disasters others created, accept praise instead of raises. A manager learns two things. You will rescue without renegotiation, and you will call that rescue loyalty. On review day, you receive gratitude and a photo on the company page. Another person, less liked but more priced, gets the budget. They wrote terms. You wrote thank yous. The market reads both fluently. Consider friendship. You listen for hours, lend money that returns as silence, drive across town at midnight to repair a story. The friend loves you sincerely. They also love that you are on call. Months later, when you ask for a ride to the airport, their battery is always at 2%. It is not hatred, it is training. You train them that your help is free while theirs is premium. Consider romance. You apologize for your standards, explain your boundaries, offer proof that you are safe to keep. The tests grow creative. Jealousy games, sudden withdrawals, the weapon of, if you loved me, you would. You answer with concessions until your map contains one city, theirs. The love feels big. Your life feels small. Respect would have felt colder at first, then far warmer over time, because respect keeps promises from becoming loopholes. The correction is simple and hard. Stop negotiating for love, negotiate for terms. Replace "I hope they see my heart" with "I will make my value legible." Write promises where others can read them. Price access, price urgency, price name usage. Do it calmly, do it early. Pair generosity with endpoint and evidence. I can do this by Friday, and then we review. I can mentor for 12 weeks, and then we reassess. I can discount once per quarter, not twice. These sentences do not kill goodwill. They protect it from decay. Sincerity is still allowed. Be sincere about your standards. Be warm with your face and cold with your ledger. Invite affection that survives clarity. Reward those who respect your limits with more access. When someone chooses you without a discount, elevate them. Build circles where terms are normal speech, and gratitude is not a bridle. You can be loved later. Be respected now. The love that remains after respect is the only love that will not turn into a bill. Choose respect first, and the right love follows. You think you choose, but your wounds make offers before you open your mouth. They bargain with your face, your tone, your speed. They whisper, "Here is the price to move this person." The room listens. Your tell arrives before your talk. You over-explain simple points, stacking reasons like sandbags against a storm that hasn't started. You laugh after stating a boundary, softening it like bread in water. You discount without being asked, calling it goodwill when it is really fear dressed as generosity. You agree too fast because silence feels like judgment, and judgment feels like exile. The nervous discount is a confession. It says, "I don't believe my work survives your stare." The too fast yes is an advertisement for future extraction. It says, "I will trade quality for comfort if you make a face." The long paragraph is a curtain. You hope no one notices you are stalling. When you do this, you set a price you never intended to set. People will return to that price because you wrote it with your anxiety and signed it with your smile. List your top 3 tells. Name them like enemies at the gate. Perhaps you fill silence with biographies. Perhaps you promise outcomes you cannot control: other people's approvals, other teams' timelines. Perhaps your feet point toward the door during conflict, your body already negotiating escape while your mouth negotiates terms. If you cannot see these moves, others will. Now look deeper, where the story is born. The orphaned need, the part of you that never received something basic: approval, safety, a steady hand, and now scavenges for it in adult rooms. Childhood scarcity becomes adult overwork. Betrayal becomes hyper-hospitality. The teacher who only praised perfection becomes the boss you keep trying to win by bleeding for the scoreboard. In the mirror stands a competent adult, but behind the eyes is a child who thinks one mistake means the house is cold again. You chase belonging and sell terms. You chase harmony and sell your voice. You chase protection and sell time. The math is hidden because the story is old. If I am pleasing, I am safe. What was once a strategy becomes an identity. It feels virtuous to say yes while your calendar breaks. It feels loyal to stay quiet while your standards bend. But the room is not a parent and you are not a child. The room pays for value and punishes weakness by using it. That is not cruelty, it is political physics. Consider betrayal. Someone important promised and vanished. Now, when a new ally appears, you over-earn, arrive early, leave late, fill gaps no one asked you to fill. You hope abundance will cancel the old absence. But commitment without pricing creates debt in one direction, yours. They will thank you loudly and budget you quietly. You will feel seen and then emptied. Consider the famine of praise. For years, approval was rare and conditional. Now a casual, amazing buys your weekend. A public compliment makes you forgive a private insult. You call it being a team player, but your need for warmth makes you pay cash for weather. People sense it. They learn the exchange rate. Warmth is cheaper than money, so they spend warmth and save money. Consider fear of conflict. Somewhere, anger meant danger. Raised voices meant consequences. So you bend the map to avoid a storm. You offer compromises in the first 5 minutes and call them solutions. You keep conversations broad so no one has to say no. Rooms love this. They get motion without commitment and call it progress. Your fear becomes everyone else's room to maneuver. The enemy is not the room. The enemy is the wound that speaks first. If you do not speak for yourself, it will. It will sell you for applause, for belonging, for a quiet that only lasts until the next request. You think you are choosing, but your need chooses for you. Your strategy will feel moral because it is familiar, but it will not be sovereign. Sovereignty requires you to break a historical alliance with your pain. Seal the breach before the meeting begins. Audit your triggers like a treasurer auditing a vault. What praise buys you? Be specific. Public flattery, private sympathy, the word family, the phrase you're different. Write the price next to each. If a compliment makes you move deadlines, note it. If a sad story makes you waive fees, underline it. The goal is not to become cold. The goal is to ensure your warmth doesn't sign the check. What threat freezes you? Scarcity alarms, budget cuts. This might be your only shot. Reputation alarms. People are talking. Leadership needs to see you flexible. Belonging alarms. We need team players. We're all hands-on deck. For each, pre-write a sentence that keeps you inside policy. I'm happy to help within these hours. I can adjust the scope, not price. We collaborate after terms are signed. Keep these on the tip of your tongue. Build a pre-meeting ritual. 5 minutes. Close the door. Breathe slowly. Review 3 lines. What you deliver, what you charge, what you refuse. Visualize traps as faces. The flatterer, the victim, the urgent commander. Decide your response in advance. Power is most expensive in the heat of the moment. Buy it beforehand with preparation. Control the first minute. Pace your speech so the room must lean in. Use silence as a ledger-line space that forces others to place a number on their needs. Ask for specifics, outcomes, dates, accountability. Every vague noun is a future extraction. Every precise noun is a future invoice. Take notes in keywords, not novels. Keep your body still when challenged. Stillness reads as certainty. Train your reflexes with small drills. Say no to a low-stakes ask, and watch the world remain intact. Ask for a fee where you once offered a favor, and notice who respects the line and who argues with it. The ones who argue were never buying value. They were buying silence. Remove them from your market. Elevate those who accept your terms. Invest in circles where boundaries are normal and gratitude is not a leash. Understand this clearly. You are not broken because you have wounds. You are predictable because you deny them. When you name them, you can price them. When you price them, you can protect them. The room will still negotiate, but it will negotiate with your standards, not with your scars. You will feel a new quiet, not the quiet of surrender, but the quiet of order. That quiet is power. Seal the wound, then set the terms. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few really know what you are. The fall begins with a small cut to your image. A rumor, a clipped email, a meeting where your name is questioned and the room tilts. You feel the floor slip and reach for control with the wrong hand speed. You write long messages to fix a short perception. You call people who were not in the room. You explain the history of your effort like a guide on a bus no one asked to board. This is the panic bid, a surge of noise that trades your crown for attention. Watch the spiral. First, the text wall, paragraphs that start strong and end in rain. You repeat yourself because repetition feels like strength. In truth, it signals you are bleeding. Then the apology storm. You apologize for tone, then for timing, then for their feelings, then for the weather. You feed a fire with your own furniture. Finally, sudden promises, discounts, overtime, deliverables you cannot guarantee. You pledge the treasury to anyone who looks at you long enough. The panic bid feels moral. You tell yourself you are being transparent, humble, responsive, but the rhythm gives you away. When your heart drums faster, your sentences do too. You hit send before you finish thinking. You hop on calls without an agenda and let the loudest voice frame the facts. You mistake movement for repair. You forget the law of the court. The ruler must not bleed on the marble. The sight of blood changes how the court speaks when you exit. Now the price of public emotion appears, cold as steel. Outbursts are not just moments, they are files. A sigh becomes a screenshot. A late-night rant becomes a forwarded quote. A shaky video apology becomes a link that enters rooms before you do. People who have not met you will meet your least disciplined minute first. They form a theory and then treat you as evidence. Power is partly narrative, and narrative is cheap to copy. Every leak of emotion floods ears you never meant to irrigate. The costs compound. Screenshots do not travel alone, they travel with captions. This was unprofessional, seems unstable. You will notice the silence first. Fewer replies, fewer direct asks. Projects drift away like boats after the tide drops. Meanwhile, the voices who baited you once prepare the next test, because spectacle is easier than substance. Public anger and public pleading become the same currency, proof that you can be moved. If you lash out, they know a button. If you beg, they know a button. Either way, you have installed a keypad on your chest and published the code. The market recalculates your price. Influence assumes composure. Without composure, your arguments are taxed at the border. Even when you are right, your emotion becomes the story, and the story becomes the verdict. So you need a containment protocol. Not feelings, denial, feelings, discipline. Begin with pause, 30 deep seconds. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose. Let the pulse drop until your sentences can carry facts. If you cannot trust your breath, you cannot trust your mouth. Next, reduce channels. If the fire is on Slack, step off Slack. If the heat is in group text, leave the crowd. Public squares are for finished messages, not live repair. Move to a single channel you can control. Then convert chaos into terms. Ask for specifics. Who alleged what, where, when, and what remedy is sought. Use nouns and dates. Vague words multiply conflict. Precise words shrink it. Replace "people are concerned" with "two clients ask for a timeline." Replace "we are disappointed" with "scope change Tuesday without approval." Precision is not coldness. It is heat control. It cooks the meal without burning the kitchen. Time box your responses. Set windows for input and decisions. I will gather facts for 48 hours and respond Friday at 10 a.m. Put the window on the calendar and keep it. This denies drama, its favorite fuel, unending escalation. While the clock runs, collect evidence quietly, save messages, pull metrics. Call two sober minds who want outcomes, not gossip. Do not crowdsource dignity. Write, do not perform. A one-page summary beats 100 frantic chats. Use bullets, not floods. State the issue, the evidence, the decision, and the next steps. Where you erred, say it plainly, and price the remedy. Where others crossed lines, state the boundary and consequence for future violations. You are not auditioning for forgiveness. You are governing a situation. Protect the treasury. No sudden promises. No midnight discounts. No overtime you cannot deliver without breaking future commitments. Every emergency solution must pass two tests. Does it solve the core problem, and does it preserve the power to govern tomorrow? A fix that costs your crown is not a fix. It is a ransom. Resist ransoms. Pay with clarity, not with self. Control optics without acting controlled. Straight posture, slow voice, still hands. If this is digital, check your background, your frame, your pace. Remove nervous laughter like a stain. The room reads small things as verdicts. They are deciding whether you are a storm or a harbor. Be a harbor. When attacked, narrow your target. Do not fight the whole sky. Address the claim, not the theater around it. When baited, decline the show. I don't trade in gossip. Here are the facts and the terms. You will feel smaller in the moment because the spectacle is loud, but long game power is quiet. If you must apologize, pay correctly. Apologize for what you controlled, not for things you didn't. Pair the apology with a correction and a check on the correction. I missed the deadline. Here is the new date. Here is how we will monitor progress. Do not apologize for existing. Do not apologize for standards. Never apologize for enforcing terms that were agreed. Finally, end the window. Close the loop with a short, clean statement of the outcome, then return to delivery. Nothing repairs reputation like results. Build 3 small wins in quick succession and make them easy to verify. Over time, the narrative recalibrates. Not perfect, but steady. Not loud, but effective. You will be tested again. Everyone is. But this time, the panic bid will stay in the drawer. You will hold the silence like a shield, turn chaos into terms, and trade noise for order. The ruler does not need to shout to be heard. The court hears the calendar. Hold your crown. Let the facts speak. The room is not a family. It is a state, and states are kept by terms, not by hugs. You were taught to make people feel good and trust that feelings would repay the debt. Feelings do not repay. Ledgers do. If you want quiet, you must price it. If you want loyalty, you must define it. Replace the soft dream with measurable peace. You will not become cold, you will become clear. Clarity is mercy because it ends the guessing game that burns goodwill into smoke. Start with translation. When someone says, "We care," convert care into numbers. How many hours? Which deliverables? What risk will you take and for how long? What will you do if it fails? And what do I receive if it works? Write the answers. You are not insulting anyone. You are rescuing both sides from polite ambiguity that turns into late-night resentment. In a state, love is budgeted. What is not budgeted becomes a rumor. Time is the first metric. People who love you will ask for it freely. People who respect you will schedule it and pay the opportunity cost. Track the difference. The request that ignores your calendar is not affection, it is annexation. Money is the second metric. If praise rises and price drops, you are being serenaded into a discount. Risk is the third metric. Who signs their name when the weather turns? The one who shares risk is an ally. The one who shares applause is a fan. Keep a simple ledger. Names, dates, value. Not to be petty, to be fair. Memory is biased toward drama. Ledgers remember the quiet favors that never trend. When the numbers are honest, your heart can stay generous without becoming a faucet. Now shift your map from attachments to alliances. Attachments say, we are forever. Alliances say, we are aligned until this. Objective is complete. You do not need oaths. You need overlapping interests with clear endpoints. Tell a colleague, for this quarter, our goals match. After that, we will renegotiate. Tell a client, this is the scope. When it ends, we evaluate. This sounds less romantic and works better than promises engraved in air. Coalitions rotate. That is not betrayal, it is maintenance. A designer is your ally on the product launch, but not on hiring. A mentor is your ally while you learn a skill, then becomes a peer who respects new terms. The influencer who boosts your post is an ally for reach, not for strategy. Let roles breathe. The same person can sit across from you in one room and beside you in the next. When you stop forcing permanence, you stop mistaking motion for treason. Treat departures as design. An alliance that ends on schedule is discipline, not failure. Celebrate delivery, close the books, and send the summary. What we built, what we learned, how we might meet again. This removes the poison of "you used me" and replaces it with "we completed our treaty." Expectations written, exit dignified. Do not fear being called transactional. You are already in transactions. You are choosing to make them honest. Affection without terms breeds entitlement. Terms with warmth breed durability. The most stable relationships feel simple because costs are known. There is no background anxiety, no guessing what a smile will demand tomorrow, no sudden appeals to loyalty when budgets wobble. Predictability is love for grown states. This is respected as quiet peace. Respect is not theater, it is the silence after standards. People stop testing you because your yes is consistent and your no is clean. Meetings shorten because you ask for specifics and take notes like a treasurer, not a diarist. You show gratitude in clear actions. Faster turnarounds for those who pay on time. Previews for partners who hit milestones. Discretionary favors for allies who raised a hand when risk was heavy. The court relaxes because the laws are predictable. Notice how heat drops when prices are visible. The client who once begged for magic now chooses between packages. The friend who once wanted a quick favor now sees a menu with windows and limits. The team that once floated responsibilities now signs ownership lines. Friction leaves because it has nowhere to stick. You are not forcing people. You are freeing them from the fog. Enforcement keeps peace, not loud punishments, credible ones. Late payments trigger pauses. Scope creep triggers written change orders. Disrespect triggers distance. You do not escalate with speeches. You execute with calendars and access controls. Soft hearts can keep strong gates. Mercy remains available, but mercy is scheduled, not assumed. Practice this small before you scale. Next time someone says, "We care," ask, How will that care appear on Tuesday? Next time a leader says, "We're family." Answer, "Then let's write how family handles missed deadlines." You will watch the room recalibrate. The sincere will lean in, the users will drift. Life grows quieter and more productive because everyone knows the price of entry and the value of exit. It was never love, it was alignment, or it was appetite. Alignment can be nourished, appetite is endless. Build your state around alignment interests, incentives, enforcement, and let the rest pass you by without guilt. You are not cold for choosing an order. You are warm enough to last. Trade promises for terms, and your peace will hold. Before all else, be armed. Your shadow is not a curse. It is a reservoir. The impulses you tried to hide, hunger for approval, fear of conflict, the itch to be chosen can be melted down and minted into policy. Power is not the absence of weakness. Power is weakness organized. Meet your shadow, give it a job, and you will enter rooms already fortified. Start with pre-negotiation. Engineering. Do not wait for the table to define you. Build the table. Choose the venue that favors your clarity, quiet, neutral, no surprise spectators. Send an agenda with nouns and verbs, not clouds and moods. Deliverables, dates, decision owner. Fix start and end times like city gates. Decide the seating. You at angle to the door, allies within eye line. The chronic interrupter placed where their theatrics face a wall. Place water and paper. Remove distractions. Options are the real architecture. Arrive with at least 3 viable paths that all protect your core interest. People resent walls. They accept corridors. If you do not pre-build corridors, they will blast holes in your boundary and call it collaboration. Define deadlines with teeth, milestones, verification points, and the rule that silence equals no, not yes. When others wander, you return to the map you wrote. You do not wrestle, you point. The room relaxes because the maze becomes walkable. Now the first minute and the last sentence, the 3-offer method. Anchor high with a prestige option that frames your value at full height. Speak it cleanly, without apology. The premium package, the accelerated timeline with dedicated access, the executive review included. Then lay the fair middle, the standard scope at the standard rate, with clear support and check-ins. Finally, state the walk-away clause, a minimal option you can deliver without resentment, and the conditions under which you decline. Your first minute sounds like this. There are 3 ways we can do this. Premium with priority access and weekly executive syncs, standard with bi-weekly milestones, or limited advisory for 30 days. I'll recommend the middle for fit, but the choice is yours. Your last sentence is equally scripted. If the choice is the limited path, we keep scope narrow. If scope expands without terms, I will pause until we re-sign. You do not say this to threaten, you say it to define the atmosphere. Penalties must be credible and mercy calibrated. Credibility means the consequence is automatic, proportionate, and enforceable without speeches. Missed payment, work pauses, and late fees accrue at a fixed rate. Scope creep without signed changes. Deliverables freeze at the last agreed milestone. Disrespect in a public channel. Communication moves to written form with a third party copied. You are not angry. You are consistent. Consistency writes your legend faster than eloquence. Mercy is a budget line, not a mood. Predetermine the conditions. One-time waivers for long-term allies. Small grace windows when sickness or catastrophe strike. Temporary concessions when strategic upside is proven in writing. Mercy used rarely becomes a crown. Mercy used daily becomes an ankle chain. Announce mercy as policy, not as apology. We offer a 1-week grace once per year to partners in good standing. This makes compassion predictable and protects it from exploitation. Signal discipline turns your body into an instrument. Posture says you are anchored. Slouching says you can be moved. Pace your voice slower than the fastest person in the room. Speed belongs to the needy. Hold eye line steady, not challenging, not evasive like a guard watching a gate. Take notes sparingly with timestamps and verbs. Note-taking signals that words become records. Use silence to tax vagueness. Let a foggy claim hang until its owner either defines it or abandons it. The rule is simple. Your stillness must say terms. Practice micro-signals before high stakes. Keep your hands still when challenged. Breathe from the diaphragm before speaking. Replace filler words with space. In digital rooms, your frame is a palace. Clean background, centered camera, steady light. If you must stand, stand. If you must sit, anchor your feet. Do not smile to soften the price. Price is already diplomacy. Intelligence precedes influence. You do not persuade a room you have not mapped. Ask yourself 3 questions before you enter. What can they not lose? Who do they fear? What would embarrass them? The non-negotiable reveals where leverage hides. The fear reveals who shadows the conversation from outside the door. The embarrassment reveals the stage they cannot risk appearing on. Gather this intelligence quietly. Scan their recent wins and wounds. Study the cadence of their emails. Who decides? Who defers? Who pretends? Listen for contradictions. We value craft, paired with ship by Friday, no matter what. Contradictions create pressure points. Prepare questions that expose them without spectacle. Which metric outranks the rest if timelines collide? Who signs when risk exceeds budget? Influence is not volume, it is alignment nailed to a clock. Your shadow is your informant. The part of you that once begged to be chosen notices hunger in others' eyes. The part that fears anger recognizes where wrath is staged as leadership. Instead of obeying those parts, you recruit them. You say, "Tell me where I'm likely to fold," and then you plant a policy there. If flattery buys you, you pre-write a sentence that prices praise. "Thank you, let's put this into the scope grid." If urgency scares you, you script the break. "I don't sign under countdowns," and send the draft in writing. You make a contract with your reflexes before the room tries to. Stack small, boring victories until the room sees a pattern. You keep start times. You send agendas 24 hours before. You return with 3 options and a recommendation. You pause at the first sign of scope drift and move to change order. You enforce 2 missed payment rules before a third. After a quarter, the narrative changes. Not loud, not easy, but unwavering. Tests decline because tests are expensive where they fail. None of this hates people. It respects them. Clarity is a kindness to the serious and a wall to the unserious. You will lose a few who needed your chaos to thrive. Let them go. Your state prefers citizens who can read laws. Your shadow, once a saboteur, now patrols your borders. The room will still negotiate. The difference is that it now negotiates with policy, not with your nerves. Enter calm, because the deal is already leaning. Before hello, you have chosen the ground, the clock, the menu, and the map. By the time words arrive, they are walking a road you paved. Influence begins where your preparation ends. Engineer the field, then collect the piece. You wanted noise to prove you mattered. Then you learned the opposite. Power makes rooms quiet, not because people fear your volume, but because they understand your standards. When terms are clear, experiments stop, tests fade, peace begins like a sunrise slow, then everywhere. Look at the calm that follows law. The same table that once chipped your boundaries now lays out contracts before coffee. Meetings shrink to the length of decisions. Your phone stops buzzing at midnight because urgency no longer buys access. People plan around you instead of through you. They do not ask if you are flexible today. They ask what the policy allows. You do not chase clarity. It arrives on time and takes a seat. This is not cold, it is humane. A room that understands you can rest. Your yes means delivery, not resentment. Your no means protection, not drama. You are predictable, and predictability is the softest cushion in politics. Even critics adapt, because resistance wastes less energy than guessing. They stop testing your gates and start using the road. Mercy belongs here, but mercy remembers. You can be generous without granting amnesia. When an ally stumbles, you extend a hand with guardrails, one-time grace, defined scope, a check-in on Friday. You remit a late fee once for a partner who has earned it across a year of reliability. You adjust a timeline after illness, not after negligence. This is strength that faces outward and inward at once. Kind to people, strict with systems. You will be tempted to forget the ledger in moments of sentiment. Do not. Gratitude can be warm and written. Send the thank you note. Also update the record. Reward those who respect your standards with priority, previews, and trust. Do not publish your mercy as a spectacle. Quiet generosity keeps dignity on both sides and does not invite opportunists to the door. Peace is not passive, it is a practice. End each day with a rite of statecraft. 10 minutes is enough when it is done every day. Review deals. What moved, what stalled, which decision is yours to own tomorrow. Clean ledgers, close loops, invoice accurately, log favors given and favors received. Plan penalties. Confirm the next automatic step for missed terms so you never improvise punishments out of mood. Schedule favors. Choose 2 people or teams to advance with a small advantage. A warm intro, a faster review, a slot on the next agenda. Guard the morning like a treasury. Begin with silence, not scrolls. Read your calendar like a map of borders. Decide where you will be sovereign and where you will simply observe. Draft 1 sentence you will repeat in the day's hardest room. Place it in your mouth now so pressure cannot rewrite it later. Prepare 1 decision you will not delay. Power leaks slowly when you defer the obvious. Measure your peace the same way you measure revenue. Trends, not moods. Are interruptions dropping? Are agreements shorter? Are outcomes more consistent? If the answer tilts upward, keep the ritual. If not, adjust the law, not the kindness. Stronger standards, cleaner menus, fewer doors into your time. This ending is not a speech, it is a constitution. You do not need to be loved. You need to be legible. Legible leaders are easy to work with and hard to manipulate. People may not cheer you, but they will come home to your roads. Quiet will stretch across your days like a held breath that never breaks. And in that quiet, you will find time to learn, to build, to choose your next hill with a clear head and a whole heart. Choose calm on purpose, maintain it with policy, defend it with consequence. Let your life become the city you would trust your family to walk at night. Standards first, then mercy, then peace.